Straightforward conversations. Get the story behind the headlines right here on The Newsmaker. Vice President Sara Duterte's defense team is ready to confront new impeachment allegations. Questions loom over aliases, including Mary Grace Piatos. The House Justice Panel promises fairness, but for Duterte, this political move is no surprise. On The Newsmaker, the spokesperson for Duterte's defense team, Atty Michael. Thank you for joining Newswatch Plus. I'm Tristan Udalo. Today's Newsmaker, we have Atty Michael. He is the spokesperson for Vice President Sara Duterte's defense team. Atty. Thank you for your time.
Hi Tristan, thank you for having us.
Sir, let's start with the two new impeachment complaints were filed against Vice President Sara Duterte this week. The House Secretary General has already transmitted the complaints to the Office of the House Speaker. Maybe just an initial reaction from your team, and how is the Vice President personally reacting to these fresh allegations?
Well, for us, as we've stated in previous interviews, it came as no surprise, really. We were expecting all of these, a second round of impeachment complaints to be filed against the Vice President. So, hindi na siya kinagulat ng defense team at hindi na rin to kinagulat ng ating Vice Presidente. But that's why, our preparations never stopped, even when we filed the petition before the Supreme Court, while that was pending and even after the decision came out. We never stopped preparing. So, we're ready to face the challenge and we're ready to face the allegations against the Vice President.
But has she given any clear marching orders to the legal team, specifically po sa inyo, sir?
Well, ang Vice Presidente lang naman, ang sinabi lang naman niya sa amin is sagutin lahat ng mga aligasyon, be prepared with our evidence also or counter evidence to what they have para naman malinawan na rin ang mga taong bayan kung ano ba talaga ang mga issue na to at maging malinawan na rin na walang basihan ang mga aligasyon laban sa kanya.
But Atty. when was the last time you spoke with the Vice President about how to approach this proceedings?
Well, I speak to the Vice President almost on a daily basis. But in terms of how to approach these proceedings, matagal na naman na pag-usapan yung mga strategies namin. Even during the first impeachment complaint pa lang last year, nag-usap na kami tungkol dito. So I don't think there's a need for us to really talk to her constantly regarding that. Although, syempre, if things crop up, it's so easy naman for us to communicate with her. We always have an open line to her. But we try not to bother her as much because alam na naman ng legal team kung ano yung dapat gawin and para naman hindi rin maantala yung Vice President sa kanyang trabaho bilang Vice Presidente.
And medyo hati rin yung attention ni Vice President Duterte because apart from facing this impeachment complaints, her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, is also having his own legal battle sa ICC.
We could say that, pero meron din naman siyang sarili niyang legal team for the ICC who I'm pretty sure also know what they're doing. So, that magaling mag-organize ang Vice Presidente ng kanyang mga teams. In fact, parati kong sinasabi, itong defense team for impeachment, matagal nang nabuo ito. She really organized everything so that even with all of these things happening and going on, at least hindi nahahati yung attention niya, lalong-lalo na nakaka-focus siya dun sa trabaho pa rin niya bilang Vice Presidente natin.
Attorney Powa, sabi niyo po kanina, since last year talagang grabe na rin yung preparations niyo in anticipation of the second round of impeachment. But at this point, is the Vice President also bracing for more complaints until the end of her term?
We don't know that. Of course, we cannot speculate, but it's not far-fetched to think that there might be other complaints aside from the two that were filed last week. Earlier this week. And sabi nga natin, kung malampasan natin ito ngayong taon, may possibility pa rin na next year maulit pa rin ito. So these are things that, of course, we don't want to speculate on, but they are possibilities that we have considered and we're ready for them.
Attorney Powa, just to be clear, ito pong defense team niya on the impeachment is also, will there be a different set of lawyers para naman po doon sa mag-handle ng cases niya sa ombudsman, which also parang same complaints din po?
Well, dito sa defense team niya, as I've said, hindi naman nagbago no yung composition ng ating defense team. Pagdating naman sa ombudsman, it will still be Fortune Nervasa Salazar, the law office, no, in collaboration with myself. But sa ngayon, yun pa lang na pag-uusapan.
I want to go to the defense composition. So is the composition of the legal team still the same? Yung meron po kasing in-announce last year na 16 lawyers or have there been any changes?
Pareho pa rin po. But let me just clarify the 16 lawyers, no? Kasi sometimes ang lumalabas sa balita is napakarami ng mga abogado. 16 lawyers because as you know, we're working with a big law firm which is Fortune Nervasa Salazar. And because of that, no, syempre yung mga associates kasama namin doon. Kaya naging 16 lawyers. But technically, it's really the law firm, which is Fortune Nervasa, myself, and Attorney Mark Pinluan, as well as Attorney Ralph Bodota. So, medyo kasi nagkakaroon ng maling connotation pag sinasabing 16, when in fact, it's only that number because we're also, of course, working with the big law firm.
Okay. At yung core team, yung tatlo pong yung mga pangalang binanggit niyo po, sir. Kayo yung talagang core team, core defense team.
I wouldn't want to say core defense team kasi we really collaborate with each other. So everyone's in this together. No?
Okay. Sir, but from your initial assessment, do these complaints, yung specifically yung in-endorse ng Makabayan at yung final din po ng Tindig Pilipinas, endorsed by Congresswoman Laila De Lima, these complaints raise anything new or are these just a repackaging of old accusations?
Very similar. I wouldn't want to say repackaging because I also don't want to insult naman no our complainants. Perhaps they believe in really what they filed. So sa akin naman, it's really when I perused through the new complaints, it's very similar to the complaints filed last year. May mga dinagdag lang katulad nung affidavit of a certain Ramil Madriaga. So, yun yung mga changes. And I think there's a few more. I believe in one of the complaints, nasama rin yung kung ano man ang nangyari dito sa budget deliberations for the OVP 2026 budget. But aside from that, fairly similar to the complaint last year.
Fairly similar. And the Makabayan bloc is alleging betrayal of public trust, fabricated liquidation reports, and even disregard for congressional oversight. How prepared is the defense to face these specific charges?
Well, first of all, as we all know in our legal system, the complainants, in this case, the prosecution, will have to prove first, no? Kung sila yung dapat maglabas ng ebidensya para mapatunayan yung mga paratang nila. And tayo naman sa defense, the burden of proof now shifts to us once the prosecution already presents their evidence. At tayo naman sa defense, we're ready, no, to respond to all of these allegations, so to speak.
Attorney Powa, on the issue of aliases, kasi matagal na rin po ito, no? Particularly si Mary Grace Piatos, of course, you've already clarified some of the statements na quote in the past. But the Vice President has already said she is also ready to explain. What exactly does that mean and when will that explanation come?
Well, again, I don't want to get into the details of the defense as we don't want to preempt anything or telegraph anything at this point. You know, everything will come out during the course of the trial. So sa atin naman, sabi mo nga, we're ready to explain para mapaliwanag sa taong bayan na walang basehan yung mga paratang na fund misuse. I think we'll just leave it at that at the moment. And siguro, during the course of the trial, makikita naman ng taong bayan kung paano namin ilalatag lahat ng ito.
Siguro po sa madaling salita, pwede ba nating sabihin, Attorney Powa, na handang sagutin ni Vice President Duterte ang issue ni Mary Grace Piatos?
Ang issue ni Mary Grace Piatos and all other issues no, na nakapaloob sa impeachment complaint.
Okay. And you know, you have some critics no when the issue of being able to explain etong mga kino-question po no, sinasabi nila why wait for an impeachment trial when you can provide full clarity now and end the controversy once and for all.
Oh, that's actually not true, no? As we know, we're talking about confidential funds, intelligence funds, so to speak, no, for non-military agencies. So, meron po tayong mga restrictions dyan, no? The reason why these are confidential activities is because hindi natin pwede mailahad-lahat yan or else we will be jeopardizing a lot of the operations happening now, no? So, because of that, no, hindi ganun kadali i-explain yan sa public. In fact, there are laws prohibiting us, no, from disclosing confidential information uh, to unauthorized personnel. And that is why, no, na parati nating sinasabi, at the proper forum natin yan, and even at the proper forum or appropriate forum, it will still be subject to laws on confidentiality in terms of these operations.
Okay, and we will have yet to see kung paano po itong mangyayari because nasa early stages pa lang naman po yung impeachment complaint. Sir, the second impeachment complaint filed by Tindig Filipinas cited 5 grounds. Of course, sabi nyo na nga po, ayaw nyong i-telegraph yung magiging response nyo on these allegations, but na-mention nyo na rin po kanina yung pagkakasama ng testimony ni Ramil Madriaga. Was his inclusion a surprise to the defense team or ito ay something na pinaghandaan nyo na rin po?
Oh, definitely not surprised. In fact, when the affidavit of Ramil Madriaga came out, I think around a couple of months ago, if I'm not mistaken, we already had an inclination that this would be part, no, of another round of impeachment complaints. And definitely, as I've mentioned, we are ready to respond to those point by point.
Sir,
At least to disprove, no, yung mga claims ni Ramil Madriaga.
okay. Sir, I interviewed House Justice Committee Chairperson Jervy Luistro here on the show, and she assured that the same standards used in the Marcos impeachment will apply if this reaches the Justice Committee. How do you respond to that kind of assurance from the lawmaker?
Well, we're very optimistic, as I've always said naman, no, regardless of the politics that are involved in impeachment proceedings. I've always said in previous interviews, and I'll say it again, that we would like to give the benefit of the doubt to all of our lawmakers, especially the members of the Committee on Justice, no, that they will really be fair and impartial sa kanilang review. And, yun ang inaasahan naman talaga natin.
Okay, and because the next question would be, is there any potential conflict of interest given that some members of the House Justice Panel were also involved in last year's impeachment proceedings, including those who were set to act as prosecutors?
Sa akin naman, again, maybe I'll just have to repeat what I said. Some people might say there's conflict of interest, but as far as, her lawyers are concerned, including myself, we would like to give them the benefit of the doubt. They are duly elected officials of our country, lawmakers, and we are optimistic that they will just follow, no, and evaluate yung mga materials based on the evidence presented.
Sir, where is the defense team's focus right now? Sabi niyo po since last year naghahanda kayo, at which part of the preparation could you share ano na po ang ginagawa nyo? And if the Justice Panel moves forward with the complaints, is the Vice President willing to appear personally before the lower house?
Yung appearing personally before the lower house, titingnan po natin yan kasi ngayon it's early days, no? We don't even know how it's gonna be acted upon. So us lawyers will have to evaluate the situation and advise her accordingly kung kinakailangan or kung hindi kinakailangan. Ngayon, pagdating naman sa preparations ng defense, nasa fine-tuning, tweaking, as I've said, we've been preparing this, and we're ready definitely for any eventuality. We're ready to go to trial if ever.
Sir, on the lifting of the 1-year bar on the impeachment filings, medyo nagkaroon po ng confusion this week, no? Kasi may ibang interpretation po pala. What do you think about the lawmakers' interpretation na mas maaga yung na-lift yung bar, or do you see this as another legal technicality that could still be challenged?
Well, I've heard the explanation on those on the complainants who filed early, no, nung Feb 2 kung bakit sa tingin nila ay tapos na yung 1-year bar. Sa amin, I've been consistent in saying that we will reserve our comments and we will give our position at the appropriate time.
Okay. Siguro sir, as a final question, ano na lang po ang maybe assurance to the supporters of the Vice President when it comes to this impeachment proceedings? Sabi na nga po, second round na ng impeachment.
Basically, ang assurance po na mabibigay namin is hindi to naging sorpresa para sa amin, hindi rin to naging sorpresa para sa Vice Presidente, and we're ready for any eventuality.
And we will closely monitor po ang mga developments sa lower house at dito po sa mga proceedings, particularly kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Atty Michael Powa, the spokesperson of Vice President Duterte's defense team. Sir, thank you for sharing your insights and for this interview.
Thank you very much, Tristan. Thank you for having us at magandang hapon po sa ating mga kababayan.
Thank you, sir. And we will continue to deliver just the facts and the news you need. Until our next Newsmaker, I'm Tristan Odalo.